actually to trick you, to take your money. So it's really important that you know about like scams and things like phishing and vishing and smishing, and that regards to if they're using voicemail, then it's known as vishing. If they're using email, it's known as phishing, and if they're using text messaging, then that's called smishing. And those are ways of contacting people who are just innocent, good folks and trying to trick them into giving up their personal information, their credit card, their banking information. So I always, try to advise people, if anyone is asking for any of those information, like that kind of information, you can literally hang up the phone. You don't have to talk to them. And you can call your bank. You can call the website of the company that they're trying to pretend to be. And you can look up the official phone number, not a phone number they give you in an email. And that way you're actually talking to the real company and not some fake website that looks like it's the real company. So, policies that benefit older adults, very important that AARP offices have experienced staff and they're working to influence state and local lawmakers. Current priorities are making sure older Americans accrue retirement savings, have access to quality long-term health care, and avoid fraud. Quote, for the mayor's race in Philadelphia, we had our volunteers meet with every candidate and ask them questions important to making our communities more livable, unquote, says Bill Johnston Walsh, the state director at AARP Pennsylvania. Another point that the AARP does through those state offices is tailoring opportunities to the 50-plus community. This is really important. Each state office has programs, events, and activities tailored to the people of that state. Popular programming includes educational workshops on how to prepare to be a caregiver, because so many of us have to take care of family members who really need help in their homes, and how to get the most from Social Security and Medicare. State offices also run seminars on avoiding fraud, and each state office runs fun with a purpose activities. We have an online cooking class every month with a local chef. We are offering members discount tickets to theater and musical productions, says Pamela Dubé, Associate State Director at AARP New Hampshire. Find out what's happening in your state at aarp.org/local. Another thing that the AARP is invested in doing is making local communities more viable and livable. State offices work with elected officials to push for better transportation because so many older folks don't drive. Options and for programs like safer intersections and sidewalks. Some state offices have helped establish centers where people can get to know each other. It's so important because so many of us are lonely and isolated. And in a crisis, some state offices help distribute disaster relief funds provided and raised by AARP. Another point that AARP does in the community is that they provide opportunities for volunteers. And this is really important because you don't want to just trust people. It's like, oh, I'd like to volunteer at this business. It's just really great to go to an AARP kind of vetted company because they've set up like relationships and they are not going to take advantage of anyone. And they're going to make sure that those people are vetted and that it's a legitimate cause and a legitimate company. Making good things happen for older people requires a lot of volunteer hours. AARP state offices coordinate those volunteer efforts. We recently did a day of service where we made food for the homeless, says Alex Juarez, the communications director at the state office in Arizona. AARP is looking for activists who want to get involved in making their communities and states better places to age. To sign up, visit aarp.org/volunteer. Definitely go on AARP.org just to see all of the range of offerings that they have. They have a safe driving course that I took in 2023, and it was so involved. It was so detailed. They talk about technology in cars, and they talk about safety, and really, really relevant, interesting, important teaching that was in that course. And you get a safe driving certificate so that if your insurance company accepts driving training, driver safety training, then that might even save you money on your car insurance if you have a car. Shaping the future is something that's really important for our AARP. AARP is looking for volunteers who want to help with voter education efforts in the 2024 election cycle. And make sure, please, that you look into which party is the one who wants to keep Medicare and Social Security and all of these entitlements that we've paid for entirely safe and away from the greedy hands of one of the parties who would gladly take control of that money. So, yeah, make sure that you vote accordingly. Vote for the party that is going to take care of you and be there for you, and who dropped pharma prices down, who made possible $35 a month insulin drugs, and takes care of mothers and children and older folks. This election cycle, AARP state offices will organize state voter engagement activities designed to educate residents on how, where, and when to vote, as well as how to choose a candidate who best reflects their interests in Social Security, caregiving, Medicare, and a host of other priorities. To get involved in those efforts, visit aarp.org/getinvolved. This article was by Julie Goldenberg, and if you join AARP, it's something like $16 a year, and so it's really worth it because you get all of these interesting these topics. There's right now in this issue, which is December 2023, January 2024. They have stories about weight loss prescriptions, where it's about, I'll just go over this a little bit here. The topic is weight loss RX, and it is written, let's see, the next page. I want to see who the author is. Ginny Graves. So this article, for example, it goes into new anti-obesity medications may seem like a miracle, but for older Americans, their downsides can be serious, by Ginny Graves. Ozempic. If that judge jingle is caught in your head, you're not alone. In 2022, healthcare professionals wrote more than 5 million weight loss prescriptions for various versions of semaglutide, the generic name for the diabetes drug that's become a fat-fighting sensation. The injectables Ozempic and Wegovy, as well as Rybelsus, a pill form, have become so popular that diabetes doctors have had to scramble to get alternative medications for their patients. But to paraphrase the marketing lingo, is Ozempic right for you? There's no doubt that the new anti-obesity drugs are effective at helping people shed pounds, a potential boon for the nearly 42% of people over 60 in the U.S. who are affected by obesity. Many of them will benefit, says John Batsis, MD, Associate Professor in the Division of Geriatric Medicine and the Department of Nutrition at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. But the older you are, the more reason you have to be cautious. I know, and not very long ago, I saw like a kind of a collage of pictures of celebrities, the way that they looked before Ozempic and after, and they have completely different faces. Like they all look like a little bit freaky. They look so not like their whole face is different. And some people are very gaunt and it makes them look older. And that was probably a very undesirable side effect of them taking the drug. Weight loss can be fraught with dangers for people 60 and older. And in the clinical trials for semaglutide that reported the breakdown of ages, just 3 to 10% of subjects were 75 or older. Our bodies change with age, so the results in younger people don't necessarily apply to those who are older, Batsis says. Over the past 30 years, science has begun to pinpoint the biological underpinnings of obesity. Quote, we now know that when you gain too much weight, the weight-regulating pathways between the intestine and the brain begin to malfunction, which makes you hungrier and prevents you from feeling full, end quote, explains Louis Aron, MD, an obesity specialist at Weill Cornell Medicine's Comprehensive Weight Control Center. For many patients, this new understanding is a game changer. I can't tell you what a relief it is when my doctor said, your weight is not your fault. This is a treatable medical condition, says Barbara Hebel, not her real name, 65, of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I weighed 200 pounds and was pre-diabetic, end quote. As this new understanding of obesity as a disease began to emerge, researchers testing semaglutide developed to help people with diabetes regulate blood sugar noticed that many participants taking the drug were getting slimmer. Turns out semaglutide mimics intestinal hormones, including glucagon-like peptide 1 or GLP-1, which slows digestion and tells your brain you're full. The result? You eat less, according to the first study looking at semaglutide for weight loss. Published in 2021 in the New England Journal of Medicine, it found that 50% of participants lost 15% of their body weight in about 15 months. The medicine has changed the lives of patients like Hebel. My doctor prescribed Ozempic along with metformin, a diabetes drug, and Contrave, which helps prevent constant thoughts of food, she says. Quote, I lost 60 pounds and have kept it off for the first time ever, end quote. In June 2021, the FDA approved semaglutide for the treatment of obesity under the brand name Wegovy. Anti-obesity medications are FDA approved for people with a body mass index of 30 or more, and for those who have a BMI of 27 or higher who have at least one weight-related health condition like heart disease or sleep apnea, says Carolyn Apovian, MD, co-director of the Center for Weight Management and Wellness at Brigham and Women's Hospital. Quote, they aren't intended for healthy people who want to lose a few pounds, end quote. They work not only by making people feel full longer, but also by making fatty, sugary foods and even alcohol less appealing. Anti-obesity drugs may also reduce the risk of some of the serious health problems linked to weight. Quote, we know weight loss can help with hypertension, sleep apnea, fatty liver disease, heart failure, and diabetes, end quote, says Eduardo Grunwald, MD, medical director of the Center for Advanced Weight Management at the University of California, San Diego. In people with diabetes, these medications have been shown to have cardiovascular benefits, he adds, and there's new data suggesting similar benefits for people with obesity who don't have diabetes. Kimberly Del Rosso, 57, a senior administrative assistant in Pembroke, Massachusetts, has reaped health benefits since starting Wegovy in February 22. She has lost 50 pounds, a lot for her 5'2" frame. Quote, but plus I no longer have sleep apnea, my A1C and blood pressure are normal, and my arthritis has improved. My intense cravings are gone. After 27 years of yo-yo dieting, this medication has finally helped me lose weight and get healthy, end quote. But while there are plenty of anecdotal stories of people shedding massive amounts of weight quickly, clinical trial results show more modest short-term results. In 2022, for instance, Mayo Clinic researchers found that after 3 months on semaglutide, patients had lost about 6% of their body weight. Still significant, but not necessarily dramatic. Longer term, the average weight loss is about 16%. It plateaus after 1 year and is maintained as long as the patient stays on the medication, Apovian says. The problem is it's really expensive, may not be covered by insurance, and if you stop taking it, then wouldn't it be absolutely awful to gain that weight back? That would be so awful. So for people over 50, there's serious risks involved. For every pound you lose, about 25% is muscle and bone. So for older people, if you have less of both to start with, then people who have had obesity for years are at particular risk because excess abdominal fat promotes declines in muscle mass. Batsis says, the longer you've had obesity, the more it impacts your muscle. Meanwhile, half of women and a third of men 50 and older have osteopenia or low bone mass. Since weight loss can cause additional bone deterioration, it could push people teetering on the brink of osteoporosis over the edge. In clinical trials, participants were prescribed a healthy diet and exercise along with the medication, Batsis continues. Those lifestyle habits are extremely important, especially for those over 50. Nutrient deficiencies. Semaglutide and similar medications reduce appetite. Del Rosso, for example, says she gets full after maybe half a dozen bites of food. One friend refuses to go out to dinner with her because she finds her small appetite irritating. A significantly reduced appetite makes it easier to develop deficiencies in protein, minerals, and vitamins, warns Thiara. It's not healthy to live on a few bites of food per meal, especially for older people who may be less likely to get enough nutrients to begin with. So, you could actually keep losing weight and it could actually be dangerous. I'd be cautious in prescribing rapid weight loss like that induced by semaglutide for people in their 70s, says Thomas Wadden, former director of the Center for Weight and Eating Disorders at the University of Pennsylvania and one of the study's authors. More research is needed to weigh the potential harms and benefits in this age group. So I think that, a lot of us do get thinner. By the time you're in your 70s, you kind of lose some bone mass, and some people get a little shorter, and some people, their weight that they had during menopause or about menopause, it seems to just drop off effortlessly. So it's interesting that Amelia says these medications are prescribed for people who have a BMI of 27 and at least one weight-related health consequence, but studies show that a BMI of 27 in later life is correlated with the longest life expectancy. And thinness is not always a blessing. Since starting Ozempic a year ago, Lorraine Wood, 51 of Grand Island, Nebraska, has lost 126 pounds, but for Wood it comes with a price. She's deficient in a number of nutrients. She's lost so much weight, the skin is hanging from her arms and legs and stomach, and she said she feels like her face looks like a Halloween skeleton. I feel like my bones aren't strong enough to support my body. It has taken a toll on me, Wood says. So definitely, it's very, very risky to actually have, something like um, just, having these shortcut kinds of potentially dangerous drugs. It's scary. Like, I don't want people to think that, oh, it's worth it to lose the weight. You know what? It could actually compromise your bone health. It could compromise your minerals and your vitamins and muscle tone. And, it can really like interfere with way more critical systems. And so it's really quite, it's kind of scary, like we don't want to have to like worry about, oh gosh, I've just, ruined my health because I have this, I want to lose a few pounds. Like, it may not be worth it. And so I think that, you can read about it, read studies, maybe talk to people who might be on it or who are thinking of trying it. Definitely talk to your doctor and, with different factors that you're undergoing, like your weight and your age and, different health situations. Really, the doctor can better judge whether it's a good idea for you to even consider it or not. And as for me, like, I feel that I'd rather kind of lose weight, with exercise and things that I can control, because I don't want, to look like kind of gaunt and sort of abnormal with the way that they lose weight in their face and then in their bodies. I don't really want like hanging skin and things like that. So for me, I think I'll just kind of like, lose weight the slower but safer way than having these medications. So please learn more about it, and absolutely your doctor has to be on board and to take all kinds of situations into consideration. And also, it's expensive. And then also remember, as soon as you get off it, you can gain that weight back, and then that would be even worse, wouldn't it? It's just crazy. I wish that there was something that was easy and inexpensive and that worked perfectly and didn't make us look older. But I guess we haven't found something like that yet. But we'll talk about it if something like that does get invented. So anyway, I hope that you're taking good care of yourself. It is a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you so much for coming and sitting by me, by the fire, my virtual fire. And we'll talk next time. But definitely check out the AARP. It's totally worth it for $16 a year. You get all kinds of information. You can meet other people. They have a really cool app in your phone that they have really fun games that you can play. And they have it's just a wealth of offerings that the AARP has. And they have so many million members. It's a very powerful group. And so if you want to feel like you're part of something, like you really belong, you know what? Check out the AARP. So have a great afternoon, and we'll talk soon. And thank you for watching.